to victims of the wildfires and first responders. In a statement, Barmer said most of the money is going to the racially diverse community of Altadena, one of the hardest hit areas by the wildfires. The Lakers are back in action tonight. They play Brooklyn at Crypto.com. This is D'Angelo Russell's first trip back to LA after the Lakers traded him to Brooklyn on December 29th. It'll be interesting to see how Brooklyn responds after their 59-point loss to the Clippers on Wednesday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you, neighbor to neighbor, bringing you resources and what you need to know. Sign up for Notify LA on your phone to get fire danger alerts and updates, or check on lafd.org. The Watch Duty app is free and provides wildfire maps and updates in real time. Keep your gas tank full and plan your route in case you have to leave the area. City and county officials are urging you to pack a go bag so you can be ready to leave your home quickly in case of an evacuation order. Your go bag should include a couple of days of clothing, copies of your important documents and ID, money, insurance information, your medications, electronic devices, batteries, chargers, a small radio, and emergency contacts. If you receive an evacuation order, gather your loved ones, grab your bag, your pet food, and leave immediately. For information on shelters for your pets or even your family, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 county-wide. Wearing a mask outside will help protect you from smoke, toxic fume, and particulate matter. If you don't need to go out, it's best to stay home with the windows closed. Getting to know your neighbors is a great way to stay safe, stay connected, and share resources. And Angelinos are stepping up to help, so reach out and find the assistance you need. Mutual Aid LA Network is constantly updating a Google Sheet with mutual aid resources. You can find it at tiny.cc-malan-fire. The earlier you make a plan, the better off you'll be when every second counts. Praying for LA, preparing, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
All I ever wanted was a black grand national. Being rational, give them what they asked for. It's not enough. Few solid left, but it's not enough. Few that'll really step, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on it. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made him. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G-pad, watching do it. We survived outside, all from the music. What? They like, what he on? This the Alpha and Omega. Welcome home. This is not a song. This is a revelation. How to get a gone. Teach you a man, baby. I don't understand, baby. Pay your bill and make you feel protected like I can, baby. Teach you something if you need correction. That's the plan, baby. Don't put your life in these weird hands, baby. Whoa! It's not enough. Few solid left, but it's not enough. Few that'll really step, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on it. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made him.
Somebody's got to do it. KBLA Talk 1580, 800-920-1580. Yeah, it's the perfect time to call me. I guess everybody's struggling this morning, and my guest was way late, so we're just going to talk. Let's just talk. That's what we do around here. That's what we do. We talk. That's why we call it talk radio, podcasting, and the like. I want to point out around the issue of reparations. Oh, by the way, it's 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. I want to point out around the issue of reparations that Ayanna Pressley is the sole sponsor at this point of the return of H.R. 40, which is a federal study on reparations. Would be an important step. But on the Senate side, it is still Cory Booker. When Kamala Harris was a senator, it was her and Cory Booker. Yes, I'm going to keep saying it. She supported reparations when she was in the Senate. Now Cory Booker is standing alone, and you have two black people without hair that are pushing this important bill. So I love what Professor Seck was saying. You can call your congressperson or your senator, and I'm not sure if there was some misunderstanding about what that meant in the chat because of the way that conversation was going. People saying, why call people? Well, you call people because if enough of their constituents say, hey, I want you to be a co-sponsor on Congresswoman Presley's bill to create a study on reparations on the federal level, then maybe they'll jump on it. And it's the same with the Senate. You could call your senators as well and get some co-sponsorship on that. I know it's tough because we are going into a new administration that has been very clear that they don't support reparations, even though some folks in the ADOS movement, the Yvette Carnells of the world, appear to be clinging to their support of the Mark Carters of the world, clinging to their support of a Trump administration. And got to wonder if they're, if there's a check that comes with that advocacy. But I have no proof of that. I'm just speculating. Follow the money, follow the money. But what I do know is that, the president-elect tweeted out during his campaign blaming Kamala Harris for saying that she was going to hand out race-based reparations. And he's also stated that he will take away any money in DEI, equity, or affirmative action funds from institutions and turn them over to the people who have been harmed by DEI, in other words, reparations for white people. So if you're not clear by now that this incoming administration does not intend to give you reparations, then I believe you're not paying attention. In any case, we can call our senators, we can call our Congress people, we can ask them to support this bill. It's still important to do so. It's still important to keep the momentum going for reparations, because you see a lot of it is happening at this point on the city level, the county level, the state level, and we can continue to build those wins even while he who shall not be named is in the Oval Office, or should he become incapacitated by an overdose of Diet Coke and fast food burgers while J.D. Vance is in the Oval Office. So we're keeping it going. We're not stopping Freedmen Fridays. We're not stopping our advocacy for H.R. 40 or any local measures. It continues. And I want to thank Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and thank Senator Cory Booker for taking this up. Even in fraught times, we know that it's not popular right now. This is not 2020. Everybody that pledged money to end racism is taking it back and demonizing DEI is the new N-word. So it would be easy to just pretend we didn't know that this was important. But they're not doing that, and we can keep that momentum going by supporting them. So I wanted to say that a ceasefire deal in Israel, huge breaking news. I'm a little cautious in the way I report on this because I feel like the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is a bad actor and will bob and weave in all kinds of unscrupulous ways to continue to kill people in Gaza. It seems like the Biden administration could have gotten this done earlier. I don't know that, though. I also have heard from people that are experts on the region that Netanyahu purposely held off on a deal to help Trump. And that makes a lot of sense since they're BFFs, as he is with many dictators and authoritarians. At least 46,000, almost 47,000 people have been killed in the official tally in Gaza. And experts believe there are many more under the rubble, and the number may be closer to 70 or 80,000 people dead. Almost 111,000 people wounded since October 7th of 2023. And so should this hold, and I pray that it will, even if it has fine print, that means that it won't bring full justice, it won't bring full accountability. It is a step. Children will stop being slaughtered, and that is an important win. Netanyahu was trying to say that it was Hamas that was going to stop this deal. And now we will see, because Hamas is saying that they fully support it. And now it has passed out of committee, and it will have a vote by the full 30 ministers. And we shall see. Netanyahu claims he got guarantees that the U.S. will back him in returning to his attacks on Gaza if he decides that Hamas is sabotaging the deal. That's what I call a shaky ceasefire, but I'll take it. I'll take it. The slaughter of civilians and children, women and children, must stop. And this could kick in as soon as Sunday. It is a huge deal. It's not an end to the war. It's a 42-day ceasefire agreement. And during that ceasefire, negotiations are to continue on phase 2 of the deal. So they have 6 weeks where Hamas and Israel will join international negotiators to look at a permanent end to the war. That's what Joe Biden said this week. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to be another phase, but look, if I'm a child in Gaza, one day without bombs is a blessing and a gift. And it just breaks my heart, thinking about the trauma of these children and so many maimed for life. I don't see how, even if Hamas is obliterated tomorrow, you've got generations now of children and adults who are going to remember that we supplied the weaponry for this demolition of their country and their bodies. So we shall see, but certainly this is some great news. And of course, we still have to keep our eye on the escalation of tensions between Iran and Israel. There was a report of Israel sabotaging platforms within the nuclear facilities of Iran and the continuing attacks on Lebanon, meaning that the scary part isn't over, but at least the immediate bombing will cease as of Sunday should this go through. Let's go to Willie calling us from Orlando. Good morning, Willie.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you doing this morning?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored out here on the construction site. Just wanted to call in and say how much I appreciate you. And also I appreciate Sister Fahima, who you just had. She is such an awesome resource of knowledge and information out there on the hellscape. And I just love her. I just love her and appreciate her so much. Yeah, and goodness gracious, I didn't believe that Mark Carter's name reached your lips. I was like, good gracious. The battles that I've had with this man, as far as information, like to sit back and want to talk about something about reparations while you are on the side of white supremacists saying that we should be with them more than we should be with the people who are Pan-Africanists, it's just absolutely insane to me. These people should not be taken seriously. They are people who are against the liberation of people for their own self-interest and wealth, and only mean harm and detriment to our community. And I'm real happy that Joe Biden was able to get that ceasefire agreement done. And now that those people who withheld their vote that allowed Michigan to turn red, so now that you've helped your people from being slaughtered, what's going to happen to you now that Donald Trump is in office?
Well, I think
Now,
certain
you wonder
individuals,
about-
I mean, I would be surprised if Mark Carter's not getting a big check from the Trump administration. I would be surprised
If he
because
were-
they were running around saying we're
Mhm.
turning Chicago red, right?
Right. Absolutely, but at the same time, just to be joking, if he was getting the check, he wouldn't have wore the same suit that he wore at Mar-a-Lago on Fox News. He would have had a different. He would have had a different suit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, some people have no taste and no sense. Look, I haven't had a lot of battles with Mr. Carter. Some people can have big money and still buy cheap stuff. That might have been an expensive cheap suit, but I've only had one. I've only had one battle with him, and you can find it wherever you find podcasts. If you missed it, by the way.
I've had several battles with Mr. Carter, on the hellscape, and it's like a point of a headache because you hate to know that there are people within our community that think about this. You know what I mean? Because for me, right, because I consider myself Pan-African, even though I am from the descendant of slave. My origins go back to the plantations in Alabama. So I consider myself, a person that should get reparations and things of that nature. But the fact that they think that somebody can do this with the stroke of a pen, or without the legislation or anything being involved, and then not understanding that if one president was to do it with a stroke of a pen, then another president could come in and take that away with the stroke of their pen. So the way they misinform our community about how legislation is written on behalf of people. You know what I mean? Even to the point where they say where the Indians got reparations, the Native Americans didn't get no money. They got land. And then if in communication with Native Americans, they tell us all the time about how they don't have rights to their own, how they don't have rights, not even having addresses when they wanted to vote in the last election, and how they had to scramble for things of that nature. When our people are misinformed and they go for things like this, that's the reason why I appreciate Sister Fahima, I appreciate Brother Paul Lee, and all those other ones that are over there on that side that try to fight the good fight as far as informing our community about the things that are really going on out here.
Well, yeah, Fahima reads a lot, I'll tell you that. Because she's always sending me articles that are very, very helpful and informative. And I mean, it sounds dumb, but reading is fundamental. I think we've gotten into this. And, I hope they do save TikTok. And by save TikTok, I don't mean turn it over to Elon Musk or Steve Mnuchin. But I hope we are able to save it. But that doesn't mean we should get all of our information from there. We still have to read.
Right. It's absolutely important for there to be a worldwide medium in order for people to understand things. There's this narrative like there wasn't so much racism until Barack Obama came into office. But at the same time Obama came into office, the internet came in. So now we have a device that kind of shrinks our world, so where people in Florida that was experiencing police discrimination could show their video, and the people in Georgia, the people in L.A., the people in New York, the people in the Midwest was like, we're all going through the same thing. So it's just that information that sat back and came out in order to make us to bring us a little bit closer together in this big world that we're living in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't, sometimes I hate being right. And that sounds dumb. It sounds a little Trumpy, but it's true. Because I feared that Gaza was going to cost the Democrats the election, and the new polling seems to show that it did. Right. And so, to your point, where are we now? Where are we now?
Right.
Where are those folks who sat it out? How are they going to? They're still going to weather the same storm as everyone else. And it's not, I don't know that it's going to improve the outcomes in Gaza. We're still dealing with an administration that wants to defund Social Security, defund everything, DEI, et cetera, and we're left with that. And it doesn't instantly fix Gaza or even long-term necessarily fix Gaza. I understand people have to vote their consciences, but it's an interesting time. Willie, you're welcome to stay with me if you like. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580. Now that Donald J. Trump has been elected to a second term as president, please join the Empowerment Congress and KBLA Talk 1580 to examine the question, where do we go from here? Chaos or democracy? At the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science on Saturday, January 25th. Some of LA's top elected officials, Representative Sidney Comlager Dove, Mayor Karen Bass, Supervisor Holly Mitchell, and City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson will be on hand for what promises to be a lively and informative conversation. Doors open at 8 a.m. The general session, moderated by Tavis Smiley and broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580, begins at 9 a.m. The event is free, but seating is limited and registration is required. Go to the Empowerment Congress website at www.empowermentcongress.org to register. Where do we go from here? Chaos or democracy? Come join the Empowerment Congress and KBLA Talk 1580, Saturday, January 25th at the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. Doors open at 8 a.m. The free program starts at 9 a.m. Registration is required at www.empowermentcongress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I've missed you.
Still taking your nature-made vitamins?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic. You better be taking yours.
Still looking out for me, Mom.
I'll never stop.
Made to care for you every day. Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Find us in the vitamin aisle, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.
Somebody's been praying for me.
Thanks to the generous support of the KBLA Talk 1580 delegation, we were able to donate 545 pounds of coats and blankets to the LA Mission this winter season.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
The LA Mission expressed its deep gratitude for our gift all over social media, but we wish to thank them and all the other service providers who look out daily for the less fortunate in our community, finding our happy by being helpful.
Hallelujah.
We're KBLA Talk 1580, where we do more than just talk.
Somebody's been praying for me.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do appreciate you. Willie called me from Orlando, was talking about so many different things, including some of these reparationists who are jumping in bed or have been in bed with the current incoming administration, along with some straight out white supremacists, which appears to make no sense at all, along with the impact of people who decide to withhold their votes because they were taking a principled stance against the war in Gaza. Lots of Muslims, lots of young people. And now we got a president who is not going to make things better for Gaza. And I understand, folks, you know, they say vote your hopes, vote your principles, not your fears. I get that. I also believe in being very strategic. And Willie, I don't know if you wanted to land or if you had a final thought on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're coming up into some perilous times right now. When we're thinking about what's happening with the Department of Education and how they're going to defund and how it's like everything just ties into me. You know, you defund the Department of Education, so now our kids can't get a proper education. Then that means that our kids are going to be lined up to be, picking fruit and picking cotton and working in these chicken factories and things like that. You know, those black jobs that Trump was talking about? It lines you up directly for that. When we sit back and we look in the Midwest at the legislation that they have, there's 16-year-old girls to sit back and work in bars. So you're going to have young people, adolescents, working around 21-year-old men that are inebriated and intoxicated. But these are the type of things that people are voting for. I had a conversation with a brother earlier who said he voted Republican because of LGBTQIA politics. But I'm like, okay, you got a black daughter. Yes. So when your black daughter wants to go to Harvard or Yale or anything like that, and they're not going to let her in because she's a double minority, A, woman, B, black, how do you feel about that? Because you voted because on one issue, but there are 10 other issues that are affecting the black community that you absolutely are against. It doesn't make sense to me sometimes.
Well, that's to me, that's the role of dis and misinformation, right? You've got people believing things that are just simply aren't true. And I've heard them, and there's this weird phenomena that happens with the president-elect, where people, whatever they don't like that he says, they say he's not going to really do that. But whatever they like that he says, they believe he will do that. And it's weird. It's weird to me because to me, you would either believe everything a guy says he's going to do, or you would believe nothing he says he's going to do. But this is it's like selective, it's a version of selective amnesia that includes selective intention. I'll give you an example. A lot of black people in that whole that Mark Carter fascist cell, they think that Trump will deport a bunch of people that are supposedly competing with them for jobs. So they believe that part, but they don't believe that he will defund Social Security so their grandmothers and mothers join the growing ranks of black people who are unhoused on the streets of our nation. So why would you believe he's going to do one thing and not the other? Either he means what he says or he doesn't. You see that he's backing off of lowering food prices. But so,
absolutely,
so why do you think he's only going to do the good things he said and not the bad things he said?
Exactly. I was in a space yesterday, right, where we're sitting back and we're like, hey, Elon Musk told you that he was going to sit back and bring in these people. And Donald Trump co-signed it. Oh, where there's a faction within the they say there's a faction within the Republican Party that is pushing against that. But y'all don't understand. You've already put them in positions of power. They don't have to listen to you anymore. They have what they needed in order to enact the things that they wanted to do. So while you're sitting back saying that you think that you're going to be able to push back against it, you can't. And then now the cold thing about it, let me say from my brother Paul Lee, the cold thing about that is, right now they sit back and got people right-wing saying that we as black people are not American citizens, but we were granted citizenship. So they're willing to sit back and spin things all the way back to the 3/5 compromise, to take away those amendments that gave us citizenship and gave us the quote-unquote freedom that we enjoy to this day. So meanwhile, y'all sitting back out here caping for people that are going to sit back and want to strip you of your humanity. And they will be able to, because by you sitting back going against immigrants, by you sitting back going against other human beings that walk this earth and breathe, you have given up your right to humanity as well.
Well, that's well said, Wooly. I appreciate the call. Be safe out there. So many things are changing with the changing of our guard on Monday. We'll continue the conversation about that when we come forward, only right here.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The ACLU of Florida filed a federal lawsuit against SB 266, which bans DEI funding on college campuses. They argue it violates the First Amendment and curtails academic freedom. Dr. Sharon Austin, the lead plaintiff, says it forces educators to self-censor. The New Georgia Project, a voting rights group founded by Stacey Abrams, was fined $300,000 for over a dozen campaign finance violations, the largest fine ever issued. A Wallet Hub report found Texas, Wyoming, and Mississippi have made the most progress in racial equality since the civil rights movement, with Texas improving health outcomes for black residents and Wyoming reducing the earnings gap. And the city of Rockford, Illinois, is named the hottest housing market in the U.S. by Realtor.com. Listings attracted nearly 3 times the national average of viewers. I'm Bree Wood on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers continued their dominant performance Thursday night in Portland. They beat the Trailblazers 118-89 for their third straight win. In the last two games, the Clippers have outscored their opponents by a combined 88 points. Norman Powell led the Clippers with 23. The Clippers play the Lakers Sunday night in the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is donating $15 million to victims of the wildfires and first responders. In a statement, Ballmer said most of the money is going to the racially diverse community of Altadena, one of the hardest hit areas by the wildfires. The Lakers are back in action tonight. They play Brooklyn at Crypto.com. This is D'Angelo Russell's first trip back to LA after the Lakers traded him to Brooklyn on December 29th. It'll be interesting to see how Brooklyn responds after their 59-point loss to the Clippers on Wednesday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their programs. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
The Ignited Light program invites one and all to the 8th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, January 18th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza. The spirit of Dr. King's legacy of service continues as local organizations come together. A drive-through food giveaway, free medical services, the Department of Children's Services offering employment opportunities. Foster and emancipated females aged 18 to 26 can take part in a very special She Ready luggage giveaway on Saturday, January 18th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza. More info, visit adayon.org. Again, adayon.org. Drivers, please enter from the Marlton Ave entrance.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Just a quick update. The Palisades fire now at 31% containment, which is a pretty big gain in the containment of that fire, partly because the winds have died down. And I know that firefighters are working around the clock and frantically to get as much progress as they can, because we're being told that these scary winds may whip up again next week. So, the battling continues there. And again, a great progress on the Eaton fire, the Altadena, Pasadena, now at 65% containment. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I had the opportunity yesterday to go and meet some of the firefighters who are also incarcerated persons and really talk to them and find out a lot about what their lives are like, how they move, how they work, what their training is like. And I'll talk more about that with Doug Bond, who will join us on Monday for the conversation about that and his programs and how he works with those folks to help train them and prepare them for those opportunities with his Amity Foundation. He's the CEO of the Amity Foundation, and he was out there at the camp site in the Altadena, Pasadena area, out there at the Rose Bowl, where we met yesterday, as was, I mentioned, Judge Songhai Armstead, who's over the LA County Justice Care and Opportunities Department there. They have a program, a relatively new program, to help those incarcerated firefighters be able to move into emergency response jobs when they finish their terms. So we'll talk more about that on Monday, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation on that. Also coming up Monday, Inauguration Day. Haven't decided quite how I'm going to handle that. I'm really feeling Michelle Obama-ish. Like, can I just not watch it? But of course, it's my job to watch it. It's just a lot. MLK Day. Maybe I'll just take tequila shots. No, while I watch it. I don't know, some kind of drinking game. I don't know. I got to think that one through. But I definitely appreciate the forever First Lady saying namaste. Peace to that. Also Monday, there is a preparedness and organizing to fight fires and fascism, emergency resources and expert presentation workshops session with Black Lives Matter Center for Black Power. It's on 43rd and Crenshaw, right near the train station, the Leimert Park station. It's from 4 to 8. They will be providing a free dinner for everybody who goes, and lots of great information and fellowship there. So TikTok is likely going to shift in a big way. I mean, maybe it'll shut down, maybe it won't. The Supreme Court has said yes, that TikTok can be shuttered. They are upholding that ban or sale law is what the Washington Post calls it, because they either have to sell it to an American, a U.S. Entity or individual, or they will be banned in the United States. And it's interesting because initially the president-elect hated TikTok and wanted it banned. Then he changed his tune. It's amazing what money can do. So now he has been campaigning to keep TikTok going. But the Supreme Court, for whatever reason, has decided to defy their master, and they decided unanimously that, and I don't know, I can't think of a unanimous Supreme Court decision in recent history, but they said that all of them said, yes, this ban is constitutional. And this has never happened before. The U.S. law shutting down a social media platform, it's a big deal. This one has 170 million followers, users in the United States. A lot of businesses depend on it. Trump wanted the Supreme Court to delay that law, and they did not do so. In a sense, Biden has delayed it because he said, I'm not dealing with this. I'm out of here. Leaving it with you, Mr. Trump. So basically they're saying that's not free speech. You don't have free speech doesn't give you a right to have a business a social media platform, and that our national security, in a sense, justifies the ban. And so it's kind of up in the air. I think that because Biden has decided not to move forward and the president-elect takes office on Monday, it's a wait-and-see scenario. I believe that Mr. Art of the Deal will come up with some sleazy solution, i.e. having Musk or somebody. Now, I'm getting conflicting reports. Some are saying that Musk buying it was fake news, but I've seen some credible reporting on this in the New York Times and other spots. So that's a wait-and-see scenario. We're going to have to see what happens on next week. We have this, looks like this ceasefire agreement is going to hold, even though conservative members, far right-wing members of Netanyahu's cabinet are saying, his coalition are saying they may quit over this. If it happens, it would could take effect as early as Sunday. 16 days later, they will start negotiating a permanent ceasefire. And one of the things that is really significant about this, and we'll talk more about that, is that it allows Palestinians to start going back to the north where their homes are or where their homes were. And that some temporary tents and temporary housing will be put in place in those areas so that they can start to repopulate the places that they've been forced to flee. There is release of hostages, starting with women and people over 55, a certain number each day to be released by Hamas, and a certain number of prisoners to be released by Israel as each day goes by. So there is a lot. There's a lot of moving parts to this thing. Israelis are protesting in support of the this deal, and saying that Israelis are going into the public plaza, hostage square, as they call it, to show their support for this. And really interesting to me, part of the ceasefire deal is that immediately 600 trucks of aid will be allowed in to Gaza. Israel's been saying, and supporters of Israel have been saying all along, Israel is not stopping humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid is welcome to come in. Well, if it's welcome to come in, why do we have to have 600 trucks of humanitarian aid included in a ceasefire deal? That doesn't even make sense. Let's go to Kofi calling us from Chicago. Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the radio.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Dominique.
Welcome.
I was listening. Oh, thank you. I was listening to Professor Fahima this morning, and she made an astute observation about the date of guns found in Africa occurring around the same time of the slave trade.
Actually, that was my observation, but that's because I saw it with my own eyes, Kofi, at the palace, the Ashanti Palace.
Very astute observation, sister, because according to my readings, guns were given to some of the brothers on the continent who were at war with other brothers on the continent. And the guns were used to capture the other brothers. And these people that were captured are the ones that ended up being given, for the guns, given to the Europeans. And
not only that, I mean, they were trading humans for guns, because in the case of the Ashanti people, they are some of the biggest conquerors of other Africans. They're intra-African imperialists, and so they were expanding their empire, and they had an advantage in war because they had weaponry that they got for trading guns.
Right, exactly.
And you can see it. It's called the Manhia Palace. Manhia Palace in Kumasi. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what makes it so sad, I mean, while I was reading, I kept putting the book down. I waited a day, because it was so sickening. The Ashanti weren't the only one.
No.
There were tribes all over the continent that would conquer other tribes and then send the other tribes and trade them for either cloth or whatever.
But it is true, to be fair, that Kofi, that what they thought slavery was more like what we consider a minimum wage job. They weren't expecting raping and whipping and stripping of languages. That wasn't how slavery was practiced in Africa. So to be fair, Western,
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, prior to that time period, when people would go to war with each other on the continent, instead of killing people, they would make sure that the loser had a way out, where they could escape. And it was more like a football game. The war was more like a football game. So, yeah, I understand that, servitude on the continent only occurred like if you committed a crime and the person that you committed the crime on, you served their family for so many years to pay for the crime you committed. No, it wasn't nothing like that. And our people at the time they traded us off to these people, they had no idea of the horrors that we would be subjected to.
Right.
You're absolutely correct.
But I gotta tell you, Kofi, when I walked through that palace, because I never really thought of it so graphically, and I was looking at those guns and I was looking at the dates, it made chills go up my spine. It was like my ancestors tapping me on the shoulder saying, can you follow the dots here, DiPrima?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another issue that I wanted to talk about is linguistics, self-determination and self-definition. The continent of Africa is named after an Italian called Scipio Africanus. So the word African is not even an African word.
It's funny because I have heard that. That's a theory, right? Because I think there's other theories about where the Africa came from. But I have heard that one, and I have heard others. And, the deep scholars call it Kemet, right? Or Al-Kebulan.
Exactly. And then you have here.
What do you call it, Kofi? Before you move on, what do you call it, Kofi? Do you call it Africa? Do you call it Kemet? Do you call it Al-Kebulan? The motherland?
I would prefer Kemet.
Yeah?
Land of the black, yeah.
Okay.
And then here in this country, America comes from the name Amerigo Vespucci, another Italian. So,
now that I did not know.
Yeah. Amerigo Vespucci and Scipio Africanus.
Why do I not know that?
I don't want to identify with either one of those.
Yeah. Well, my mom's Italian, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know anything about Amerigo Vespucci, but I'm pretty sure that dude is not someone that I want to claim. I come from my Italian folks are progressives. Believe it or not, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
They fled Italy fleeing fascism, actually.
I can understand it. I mean, all people are not all one thing at one time. You got people who are considered a benefit to humankind and those that are a detriment to humankind in all races.
Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian explorer and navigator from the Republic of Florence, for whom America is named. I feel like that was a test question that I failed in high school because I had no recollection of that at all. Kofi.
And,
go ahead, sir.
African American, technically, an African American technically would be a person who immigrated to this country from Africa, and our ancestors never immigrated here.
Well, I don't know that saying African American means you immigrated. It just means you're of African descent and you are American. That's how I see it. I mean, people call themselves Chinese American, whether they immigrated or whether they were born here, right? Or
Yeah, but somebody immigrated here. They didn't come here under
yeah,
the
most people did immigrate. They were not
auspices of
kidnapped. Yes, I get that.
chattel slavery.
Right. But I don't know
So-
that the name African American implies that we immigrated.
Well, I look at it this way. The people who created the terms African American or Chinese American or Polish American intended for it to basically cover people who immigrated or were born from immigrants here and came from another country.
So what do you
And-
prefer, Kofi? What name do you prefer?
Well, it's not African Americans, it's not Negro. I prefer black in America. I'm a black in America. And
Yeah. I
people
guess
that
I
on
use
the
them
continent of-
interchangeably because to me, black is a consciousness, not just a color, right? And it's a movement. So I like black, but I also like African American. They work for me. But I call people what they want to be called. If you want to be called, FBA, I'll call you that. If you want to be called Freedmen, I'll call you that. If you want to be called stupid, I'll call you that too.
People have a right to determine for themselves who they are.
Right. Yeah, I took that from Neely Fuller because he said, call people what they want to be called. Kofi, you're welcome to stay with me. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Now rolling for Duncan Shannon and their client CTPP. This radio spot is entitled Ryan, KICA 2023, ISKI code XCFSO 200, radio spot, stereo monocompatible.
The first time I tried to quit vaping, I told myself that it was like a mountain that I had to climb over. And once I got to the other side, it would be clear. But I couldn't make it over. What really got me to quit was my little sister. I saw her vaping. So I was back in the mountain, but this time, she was up there with me. It's weird what you can do for others that you won't do for yourself.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Ooh, we might be able to squeeze you in. Kofi called me from at 800-920-1580. I invite you to do the same. And Fahima sent me a long text, and I think it's worth saying after what we were talking about regarding the involvement of certain African nations in our enslavement, that it is true that a lot of African states did resist, and she says that includes West Africa, Angola, Congo, and the Musi kingdoms. And she says that even though the Ashanti and the Dahomey became rich and powerful because of the slave trade, there are also those who resisted it, including King Agaja Trudeau, who attacked European forts on the coast to oppose the slave trade, and of course famously Queen Nzinga Mabande and others. So I know that is I know that to be true, just like you could look at America today and say, well, they're for Trump, but we are the resistance. So hopefully history will not forget that. I want to pivot back to the ceasefire deal, and I'm really hoping that for all the fine print and BS that this will go through. And it's interesting that Biden and Trump actually collaborated apparently behind the scenes to try to make this happen, because Trump didn't want to go through on his promise that there would be all hell to pay if the hostages weren't free. But anyway, the 33 hostages will be released, Israeli hostages, part of the first, the 6 weeks of this ceasefire, and hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, even though some of them will likely be rearrested after they're freed, but at least with charges rather than being held indefinitely with no charges. 600 trucks with humanitarian relief daily, according to the New York Times. And Israel will have to move their forces to the east right at the beginning. By the 7th day, Palestinians would be able to start to return to the northern territories. And that means leaving those refugee camps and being able to return to the north, where they will have 60,000 temporary homes and 200,000 tents brought into Gaza. All of this part of this deal. And so despite the fact that it's not a permanent end to the war, it would certainly be a beautiful thing to be celebrating Monday on the birthday of Dr. King, as we take tequila shots to try to get through the inauguration, the second inauguration of DJT. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be on the air. I'm not taking King Day off. We'll be here. We'll be talking through it. We'll be trying to be there and not be there. I wonder what Michelle Obama will be doing during the inauguration, since she's decided not to go, but her husband is going. Does she watch it on TV, or will she be watching like Beloved, the movie? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I'll be watching it, but I'll have a plan for how to get through it. Either meditation or whiskey, not sure which. It is MLK Day on Monday, parade or not. I'll give you a quote from MLK Jr. On the way out the door today. He says, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. That's why we speak up for justice around here. The best of Tavis Smiley is up next. I'm so jealous he had La Russell on yesterday, and I didn't even get to meet him, so I'm pretty sure that will be in the conversation and some other great highlights of the week. Like my mama, Diane DiPrima, used to say, history is now. Like I always say, we're making it together. Until Monday, be safe, be well, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The ACLU of Florida filed a federal lawsuit against SB 266, which bans DEI funding on college campuses. They argue it violates the First Amendment and curtails academic freedom. Dr. Sharon Austin, the lead plaintiff, says it forces educators to self-censor.